With a decisive victory over a former champion now firmly on his resume, Machado Garry has officially thrown his name into the congested and fiercely competitive race for the UFC welterweight title, setting his sights directly on the man who currently represents the pinnacle of the sport, Islam Makhachev. Fresh off a unanimous decision win against Belal Muhammad at UFC Qatar, the Future used his post-fight platform to deliver a message that was part respectful homage and part direct challenge, declaring himself the most logical and deserving contender for the new champion's throne. Garry began by paying tribute to Makhachev's standing in the sport, acknowledging the monumental challenge he represents. Firstly, I want to say that I have nothing but respect for Islam Makhachev. The guy is the pound-for-pound #1 in the world and the champion of my division. This display of respect, however, was merely the prelude to a stark and confident declaration of war. He immediately pivoted to the reality of their situation, stating, "However, when you come into my division, and you're the only thing that stops me that is in the way of me achieving my dreams, I'm going to make sure that I punch a hole in your head. He has to fight me next." This call-out places Garry squarely in the middle of a welterweight contender picture that is as stacked as it is complicated. Makhachev, who dethroned Jack Della Maddalena at UFC 322, has a wealth of options. The legendary Kamaru Usman is the champion's own preferred choice for a legacy fight. The undefeated and terrifying Shavkat Rakhmonov is the boogeyman of the division, though his activity has been hampered by injuries. And the explosive Michael Morales violently staked his own claim by knocking out Sean Brady on the same card as Makhachev's title win. In the face of this elite competition, Garry made his case based on the depth and consistency of his resume. He pointed to a grueling run through the division's ranks, asking rhetorically, "There's nobody that's fought a deeper division that's fought guys from top to bottom. D-Rod, Magny, Jeff Neal, MVP, Shavkat, Prates, and now Belal Muhammad, and I haven't even gotten a title shot yet?" His argument is that he has faced a wider variety of styles and a more consistent level of top-tier opposition than any other contender, all while maintaining an unblemished record. The final decision now rests with the UFC's matchmakers, who must untangle a web of deserving challengers, champion preferences, and fan demand. But with his performance in Qatar and his bold, direct call-out, Machado Garry has successfully launched himself into the very center of the conversation, transforming from a promising prospect into a legitimate title threat who is now demanding his shot at the pound-for-pound king.
In a moment that felt both like a homecoming and a declaration of intent, Kyoji Horiguchi made a spectacular return to the UFC octagon after a 9-year absence, announcing his presence not with a whimper, but with a statement-making third-round submission victory over the formidable Tagir Ulanbekov at UFC Qatar. The Japanese star, a former title challenger who has since carved out a legacy as a champion in both Rizin and Bellator, demonstrated that his all-around game is sharper than ever, seamlessly blending elite striking with opportunistic grappling to secure a stunning finish that immediately re-established him as a top-tier threat in the flyweight division. The fight was a masterclass in pressure and technique. Horiguchi's legendary speed and precision were on full display as he consistently beat Ulanbekov to the punch and navigated the Russian's grappling threats with veteran savvy. The culmination of his hard work arrived in the third round, where Horiguchi unleashed a devastating head kick that visibly hurt Ulanbekov. He followed up with a barrage of punches, swarmed for the finish, and expertly took his opponent's back. Instead of hunting for a standard rear naked choke, Horiguchi cinched in a rare and technically brilliant naked choke, forcing Ulanbekov to tap and sending a shockwave through the MMA community. The victory prompted an immediate and effusive reaction from the sport's biggest names, underscoring the significance of his return. Merab Dvalishvili welcomed him back, Terrence McKinney acknowledged the statement, and Henry Cejudo, a former champion known for his analytical eye, made the most impactful proclamation of all, stating, Kyoji Horiguchi is the greatest threat to Alexander Pantoja's flyweight title reign. This wasn't just praise, it was a direct positioning of Horiguchi at the very top of the contenders list. Horiguchi, who vacated his Rizin flyweight title to make this very return, wasted no time in confirming his ultimate goal. In his post-fight interview with Michael Bisping, he left no room for ambiguity. "I feel really good because I come back to the UFC. This is my dream. I want to get the UFC belt," he declared. Then he turned his attention directly to the man holding the gold, his own American Top Team teammate, Alexander Pantoja. "Where is Pantoja? He is my teammate, but it doesn't matter. I will beat you up." This call-out sets the stage for a fascinating and emotionally charged showdown. Having only ever lost in the UFC to the legendary Demetrius Johnson in a title fight a decade ago, Horiguchi has returned with a refined skill set and a champion's resume from across the globe. His performance in Qatar was a clear message to the entire 125-pound division. The Typhoon has back, and he has come for the one prize that has eluded him.
The simmering rivalry between Ilia Topuria and Arman Tsarukyan has exploded into a full-blown social media war, transforming a potential sporting contest into a deeply personal grudge match filled with accusations of cowardice and posturing. Just one day after Tsarukyan's dominant submission victory over Dan Hooker at UFC Qatar, where he immediately called for a title shot against the lightweight champion, Topuria responded not with a simple acknowledgement, but with a scathing and deeply personal attack aimed at dismantling his challenger's tough guy image. Taking to Twitter, Topuria didn't just accept the challenge, he launched a character assault, mocking Tsarukyan's demeanor during their past in-person encounters. "Arman, every time we see each other in person, you freeze up like a scared duck with no idea what to do," Topuria wrote, immediately setting a confrontational tone. He asserted his dominance, claiming, "You know I handle you however I want," while dismissing the call-out as a mere formality, stating, "I fight whoever the UFC chooses." The most incendiary part of his post was a specific allegation meant to humiliate. "And remember, I slapped you and you just laughed. Then you go around acting like a gangster." He concluded by putting Tsarukyan in his place, labeling him, "Just a few levels below me, kid." Tsarukyan, never one to back down from a verbal spar, fired back with a sharp and detailed rebuttal that directly challenged Topuria's version of events. He ridiculed the champion's claim of a physical slight, writing, "Bro, you touched my neck like we were taking a family photo, and now you're calling it a slap online?" He turned the focus onto Topuria's mentality, stating, "The clip is clear, your insecurities even clearer." Positioning himself as the true man of action, Tsarukyan retorted, "I don't need to act tough for Twitter. My work is inside the cage." He ended his response with a menacing promise. "If you want to know what a real slap feels like, I'll be happy to educate you. See you soon, El Pato," co-opting Topuria's duck insult and turning it into a new nickname. This intensely personal exchange stands in stark contrast to Tsarukyan's more professional comments at the post-fight press conference, where he claimed, "To be honest, we have nothing personal between us. This is all media, this is all hype." Topuria's venomous response ensures that any potential fight between them is now drenched in genuine animosity. The champion has framed the rivalry not as a competitive matchup, but as a hierarchical dispute where he views Tsarukyan as an inferior who is acting above his station. By questioning his courage and recounting an alleged physical humiliation, Topuria has successfully raised the stakes, transforming a potential title fight into a must-see event fueled by pride, disrespect, and the urgent need for one man to prove the other a liar.
In the aftermath of his historic welterweight title victory, Islam Makhachev isn't getting swept up in the cacophony of callouts and contender debates. Instead, the newly crowned two-division champion has returned to Dagestan and imposed his own quiet but firm timeline on the UFC, demonstrating the unique leverage of a pound-for-pound king who knows his value. While the MMA world continues to dissect his win and the emerging threats at 170 pounds, Makhachev is calmly placed a two-week clock on Dana White's desk, expecting the promotion to swiftly identify his next challenger from a crowded and competitive field. "The clock is ticking," Makhachev told local media, a statement that shifts the pressure from the champion to the matchmakers. "We have at least 3 or 4 contenders now. Soon, probably in about 2 weeks, it will be clear who the next challenger will be." This isn't the plea of an anxious fighter. It's the directive of a dominant champion who has assessed the landscape and is now demanding clarity so he can begin his preparation. His cold, pragmatic analysis of the top contenders leaves no room for sentimentality or hype. Regarding Machado Garry's call-out after his win at UFC Qatar, Makhachev was unmoved. "He didn't surprise me yesterday," the champion stated. "If he surprised the UFC, then maybe he will be next." This response reframes the criteria for a title shot. It's not just about winning, but about delivering a performance so emphatic that the promotion cannot look away. When addressing the undefeated boogeyman of the division, Shavkat Rakhmonov, Makhachev pointed to the stark reality of inactivity. He hasn't fought for over a year. A contender can't sit out for a year with injuries and then come fight for the belt. Yet, in a display of his confidence, he left the door ajar, adding, "If he recovers and the UFC decides he's next, why not?" This overarching theme of delegation is key. Makhachev is not hand-picking an easy fight. He is tasking the UFC with making a difficult decision from a pool of worthy options, all within his 2-week window. His posture is that of a final boss, secure in his abilities, waiting for the next challenger to be presented to him. This commanding position is further validated by the ultimate seal of approval from a legend. Georges St. Pierre, who witnessed Makhachev's freaking brilliant performance at UFC 322 from cageside, has become his most prominent defender, actively dismantling the boring narrative pushed by some critics. "I don't think he even took a punch. People who say, 'Oh, it was a decision,' they don't know the art of fighting," St. Pierre stated, anointing Makhachev as the true pound-for-pound best. This endorsement from an all-time great reinforces that Makhachev's quiet dominance is a form of high art, granting him the authority to set the terms for his own reign. The ball is now in the court of the UFC, and the champion is watching the clock.
Fresh off a dominant submission victory that cemented his status as the undeniable #1 contender, Arman Tsarukyan is now training his full focus and a newfound promotional savvy on UFC lightweight champion Ilia Topuria, and he is projecting a level of confidence that borders on dismissive. Following his second-round arm triangle choke finish of Dan Hooker in the main event of UFC Qatar, Tsarukyan declared that not only does he believe he will dethrone El Matador, but he will do so with surprising ease. During the UFC Qatar post-fight press conference, Tsarukyan revealed a dual-pronged strategy for securing the title shot. First, he acknowledged the modern necessity of being more than just a great fighter. "After today, I'm going to try to again create some crazy videos that are going to be viral and try to make a joke and to bring a lot of eyes for that fight," Tsarukyan told media members, including MMA Fighting. "Because it's a media sport too. You've got to be a good fighter and a good showman." This marks a clear evolution in his approach, recognizing that in the era of superstar champions, building a compelling narrative is as important as winning in the cage. When it comes to the actual fight, however, Tsarukyan's analysis was coldly technical and supremely self-assured. He laid out a simple blueprint for victory that directly attacks Topuria's greatest strengths. "In my mind, I can strike with him in the long distance, but when he wants to try to box me and throw his hard punch, I'm going to shoot and take him down," Tsarukyan explained. This game plan highlights the core stylistic clash, Topuria's concussive boxing-based power against Tsarukyan's elite-level, wrestling-heavy pressure. It is an area where Topuria, for all his brilliance, has yet to be severely tested by a grappler of Tsarukyan's caliber. His final prediction was a stark warning to the champion and his supporters. "I believe in myself, and I know I can beat him so easy as well." The use of "so easy" is a powerful psychological jab aimed at undermining Topuria's aura of invincibility. Tsarukyan has repeatedly claimed that Topuria is intentionally avoiding him, and this latest statement is designed to force the UFC's hand by presenting the fight as not just the most legitimate sporting contest, but as a seemingly one-sided affair in the making. With the UFC's lightweight title picture still unresolved, and names like Paddy Pimblett and Justin Gaethje also in the mix, Tsarukyan has now thrown down the gauntlet in the most compelling way possible. He has combined a highlight reel victory with a masterclass in fight promotion, positioning himself not just as a worthy challenger, but as a champion in waiting who believes his rival's crown is already within his grasp.
The deeply acrimonious and very public feud between Dana White and Francis Ngannou has escalated into a contentious war of narratives, with a prominent and respected voice now entering the fray to cast significant doubt on the UFC CEO's shocking recent allegations. In the wake of White's claim that Ngannou physically confronted him and Chief Business Officer Hunter Campbell in separate incidents, a story that sent shockwaves through the MMA community, former welterweight champion Kamaru Usman, a close friend and longtime peer of Ngannou, has offered a thoughtful and diplomatically worded, yet profoundly skeptical rebuttal. Usman, speaking on the Pound for Pound podcast with co-host Henry Cejudo, was careful not to directly accuse White of fabrication, but his analysis was saturated with a palpable sense of disbelief. "Listen, I wasn't there, but I don't think this happened like this," Usman stated, establishing from the outset his difficulty in accepting the story as told. When Cejudo pointedly asked if he was calling White a liar, Usman demonstrated his political savvy, clarifying, "Did I say that? No, absolutely not." Instead, he focused on deconstructing the plausibility of the scene White described, a scene he found difficult to reconcile with the established power dynamics within the UFC's corporate structure. The core of Usman's skepticism lies in the mental image the story creates, one of a fighter not just arguing with, but physically manhandling the most powerful executive in the sport. "All I'm saying is, it's hard to believe to go to Dana White, 'Get back in your office, Dana, you're not the—' What? Get out your checkbook, get me $50K. And then, 'Oh, Hunter, you leaving? Get back here, Hunter, we're not done talking,'" Usman recounted, highlighting the sheer audacity such actions would require. For Usman, this portrayal clashes with the reality of White's commanding presence. He then delivered a nuanced comparison of the two men's auras, explaining why the alleged confrontation seems so implausible. He has that aura, but in just that sense, because Francis is a fighter and he has that scary aura. Dana White has a different aura as well, because Dana White's the head of the UFC. Everybody moving around Dana White. You gotta conduct yourself accordingly. In Usman's view, both men command respect and caution, but White's authority is institutional and absolute, making the idea of such a blatant physical challenge from an athlete under contract almost unthinkable. Usman's final judgment was a masterclass in offering doubt without making a direct accusation. "I find that a little hard to believe," he stated conclusively. "I'm not saying that's false. I'm just saying it might not have went down the way that quote sounded like, and it made us kind of think about the situation." This intervention from a fighter of Usman's stature is pivotal. It elevates the story from a one-sided allegation into a fiercely contested account, forcing the MMA world to question whether White's portrayal is a precise recounting of events or a strategically dramatized version designed to permanently tarnish the reputation of the one champion who successfully defied and departed his empire. In a continued and unexpected late-career pivot, former UFC interim lightweight champion Tony Ferguson is set to return to the boxing ring, aiming to build on the momentum from his first combat sports victory in over 7 years. Fresh off a TKO finish of social media star Salt Poppy this past August, Ferguson will headline Misfits Boxing, the fight before Christmas, on December 20th in Dubai, where he will put his Misfits Boxing interim middleweight title on the line against Warren Spencer. This upcoming bout represents more than just another crossover boxing match for Ferguson. It is another step in what he describes as a crucial journey to rediscover his identity as a competitor. Following his win over Salt Poppy, a visibly emotional Ferguson opened up about the profound weight that had been lifted from his shoulders. He revealed that the victory was about far more than just snapping a long losing streak. It was about recapturing a feeling that had been absent from his life for years. I had no tears. It was nothing but joy and just enjoying the moment for a split second, because you're talking about years of not being happy. Not because of the loss, just because of not being happy. This is something that I always wanted to do. Throw on some boxing gloves and just throw some leather. Tonight was the perfect example of that, and get rid of the nerves and get that first victory out of the way. He elaborated that this single win was the key to resetting his mindset and unlocking the confident, dangerous fighter that had been lost for so long. I needed one victory to get me back into where I need to be, which is killer mode, and to bring that confidence so I'm able to understand who the fuck I am, Ferguson stated. He pointed to the pandemic as a period where things spiraled for him, but now, with the pressure released, he feels ready to move forward. I have no pressure on me now. I left it all inside that ring. I'm gonna go back to the drawing board, listen to my coaches, and figure shit out. His opponent, Warren Spencer, also holds a 1-0 record in professional boxing. However, Spencer's foray into combat sports has been a mixed bag. On the very same card where Ferguson won his interim title, Spencer competed in an MMA bout under the Misfits banner against Dillon Danis and was submitted in a mere 15 seconds. This sets up a fascinating clash between two men looking to solidify their standing in the nascent world of influencer boxing, with Ferguson hoping to prove his August victory was no fluke and that he has truly rediscovered the ferocious killer mode that once made him one of the most feared men in the UFC.